Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Relations. Hello, humans of the world. I am back again for another great episode. I'm so excited because I'm a little dusty because it's been a little bit of a time. So I can't wait to fuel my spirit to do what I am meant to do and talk to you guys. And so I'm here with another amazing guest because, all my guests are dope. That's the best part of this whole thing. So I'm here with Rodney. Say hi, Rodney, to the humans.
What's happening, humans?
So I'm going to start off with how we met. Rodney, so tell them, how did we meet?
On Instagram.
So we met on Instagram. We met up in the DMs.
Yeah, it
but
was.
But not in that way.
No, not in that way. We were, I think I may have found your page. Just on the Explore page or something like that. And I was
in the Explore page? How cool.
Yeah, and I was like, yo, she looks pretty cool. And I just happened to click, and I'm like, yo, she's talking about a lot of cool, can I curse?
Yeah.
All right, she's talking about a lot of cool shit, and I'm like, you need more people like that to connect with. And I was like, follow, going through your page and just looking. And I was like, all right, yeah, I got to send her a message. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I sent you something like, yo, thank you for just being you.
Yeah, it was a dope statement, and I remember we just chatted for it was an immediate conversation right off the bat, and I invited you to speak on my podcast.
Well,
and it's been, live ever since. We just been DM friends. I think so we met in the street randomly, by the way. We never met in person intentionally.
This was back when Jay-Z's album 444 came out. So we did a podcast about how men are seen in society.
Right.
And about a year and a half later, we ended up working across the street from each other without knowing. Mm-hmm. And one day I'm out running errands and who's walking down the street? And I'm like, wait, is that?
And that's my biggest fear, by the way, for me to be walking down the street and then someone says my Instagram name. It already happened 3 times. And I hate it because I'm just like, oh my God, am I real, on real Instagram? Is this real people? I guess you forget a little bit. And you said the same thing. You're like, wait, is it you? I don't know if you said the Diary of MR or if you actually said my name.
No, I think I said your name.
Yeah. And so just so everyone knows, he was on my platform back in the day when we were, recording at This True Podcast, which, it's still going to be reignited. It was a great time. I was living in LA at the time, and now I'm back in New York. And so now we get to actually reconnect.
Yeah, in person.
I know, I'm so excited. So the premise for today, it's about dependency. And is it no longer an option, right? I think that especially right now where social media is taking over, where we're in this age range, the age range I would say of 25 to 40, where people are kind of looking to, get married, find their mate, their life partner, integrating their life with someone else is such a big thing. And I think that, it's time to transition. I don't think it's working for us anymore. So, that feeling of being in this crowded room, yet still feeling alone, although they are in a heavy interactive era, that feeling of loneliness, we can't seem to escape. So what does it mean in this new level of elevation? So what do you think? How do you interact in these relationships, reminding you of how you could get back to yourself in this process?
Well, having done this plenty of times. I just did it back in February, even before that. Going on social media has become this, not that I do it, but I watch people compare lives. And they, you see someone talking about it's like that whole FOMO thing, that fear of missing out. That's become this real huge thing to the point where you see someone at a party and for whatever long the IG story or they go live, it looks lit. It looks like they're having a dope time. If you actually know that person and you see that person a couple of days later, oh, how was that event? I'm like, it was turned. Nah, it wasn't. They seemed like they were like, so why'd you go?
Right. Why were you even there?
So I literally was like, I can't see that anymore because I'm very picky about what I call it a diet. So I believe your diet for your brain is just as important for your diet for your body.
Even probably more.
And I think that social media has amplified the fact that some people just feed off of the next person's post, the next meme, the next downfall, the next, oh, I just saw this celebrity, or even the next, oh, I'm going to this party. Do you even understand yourself first?
Or even present, right? Because it's like a lot of people are, I think, are so heavily involved in being in places and just to say that you were there, right? Like this whole clout, what is the clout movement,
yeah,
right?
The whole clout chasing.
You know, it's like just to say I'm there, but when you're there, you're not happy, you're on your phone, you're disconnected.
You're at a concert, but I mean, it's cool to like snap the moment and save it, but if you're literally
not enjoying
watching the concert through your phone,
you could have just done that.
You could. Tidal has it where you can just live stream things,
right?
Like in a lot of platforms now, where you can just live stream from home.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to take a couple breaks from social media over the past year, especially when I moved to my new apartment out in Jersey City. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to detox, and I was off of social media for like a good 3 or 4 months, and I just allowed myself to like decompress and just be comfortable with not wanting to post everything or not wanting to just see everything that everyone was doing. I just wanted to just literally chill. Mm-hmm. Like when I talk to my grandma, she's like, "What you doing?" I'm cooling. She was like, "You cooling?" She hates when I say that, but I have to break it down to her like, "Yeah, I'm cool. I'm literally just in the house with a 6-pack, binge watching whatever shows I didn't catch up on, the Blacklist or whatever it is." Or even just diving into my creative side, you know, getting more involved into my music, and thanks to you, podcasting.
Yeah.
My stories, like I have a bunch of stories that I have, chapters that I've written for so far, and I'm just like, you know, let me just get back to what makes me feel comfortable. And how that all started was, you mind if I tell that story?
No, please, go ahead.
That started more so, I think, after I broke up with my fiance back in 2013, and I had to move away from my 3-year-old. She was 3 at the time, and I was in Maryland. I was in a new town, like DC, Maryland area, new town. I had to learn a new space, and at first it was cool, but then I was like, yo, it's lonely as hell down here. I don't really know anybody. I'm literally on this same regimen of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to catch a 5 o'clock train, to ride an hour from Baltimore to DC, and I'm at work at 7 o'clock, from 7 o'clock to 4 or 5 o'clock, and then right back. Mm-hmm. So I was like, am I using my time wisely? And then I started to like really, I even had to create a playlist to put me in the mood of like just getting comfortable with thinking and writing and coming up with whatever I can come up to, just using the environment. And then I moved into a house. So I left Baltimore, moved into a house like deep out in Maryland. And even though I had roommates, I literally would go home and go in the master bedroom, which I was renting, and just be by myself. And that time allowed me to like get to understand my likes and my dislikes. Because we get so caught up in being around everyone and everything that we don't even know why. Like somebody will piss you off, but you won't even know why. You're just mad. Do you even know why you're mad? Was it worth getting mad?
Right.
So I feel like that dependency comes from just wanting to be in the moment instead of just, I mean, I get it. I want to connect with people, but at the same time, I want to connect to myself more.
Right.
You know?
So with me, similar experience as you, I moved across the country by myself and I didn't know anyone. And I remember feeling like I needed to do that because my problem wasn't really codependency, but it was like people pleasing. I felt like I had to, when I was here, I was going to everyone's birthday party. There was always a birthday party. There was always somebody's baby shower. There was always somebody's wedding. It was always something. And I found myself every weekend just giving of myself and of my time to other people. Because, you know, I have to be there to support this person or I have to show up or I'm the loyal friend, right? Yep. So I have to be there. And it's almost like I knew that in order for me to get back to myself and to really like understand who I am today, I had to completely remove myself. And I knew that it had to be drastic. And so when I decided to move across the country, I was pushed to because it wasn't comfortable to make that decision. It wasn't comfortable to do it. But while I was out there for I would say like the first year and a half, it was just me. I would go to restaurants by myself. I would take walks by myself. I was exploring a whole new state by myself. I would like rent cars. At the time I didn't have a car, so I would like rent cars and just drive, like take long drives, get lost somewhere, come back. And it allowed me time to really understand my thoughts, understand my insecurities, tap into my creativity. Writing was a huge, huge release for me. As for people that have been following me for years, I started my Rosarioisms back then, and I would just write like the things that I was trying to tell myself to keep myself going every day. And whatever that inspirational quote or that inspirational thought process was, I was just writing. And then one day I was like, oh, let me just share it. And then I just started sharing it. And then it's like that evolved into videos, which evolved into now a podcast. And that led me into getting to the space that I'm in now, helped me grow as a person, and I became a lot more confident. So I think it's super important. I mean, I wouldn't advise everyone to move over to another state or another across the country to figure it out. But sometimes you have to remove yourself from your comfort zone, from your environment, to really like get to a place of silence, mental silence, and like just to shut down those chatters so you can give space for your creativity.
Yeah, because it's amazing how everything that we, and I talk to my aunts about this too, everything that we want is always just outside your comfort zone. And you see it.
Right.
You can literally see it, but then something's like, nah, don't do it. And that's usually not your voice. That's usually someone else's voice.
Or fear. I remember when I made the decision to move, I didn't tell people until after I made the decision. And when I mean after, I mean like after I resigned from my job, after I put in my notice for my apartment, like after I really committed, because I didn't want those negative thoughts from anybody. And I knew they were going to come. And literally everyone, there was not one person that said, Melissa, you know what? Like, I support you in this. Everyone was like, are you crazy? What do you mean? You have a great job. You just got a promotion. How could you leave your job? Or how could you leave your apartment? You have a nice apartment. You lose an apartment in New York. You're never going to get it again. Yeah. And, you know, you have a boyfriend. Why are you leaving your significant other? And I was just like, listen, all of this I can come back to. Like, none of this, we have this idea that everything is like, almost indispensable or impossible. Like, it's like, if you let it go, you're never going to have it again. Like, if you had it once, you can get it again. Yep. And I would tell you, that's the case with anything. Any job, any significant other, any pair of sneakers, literally, whatever it is.
You can always get it.
You could always get it again if you want it. And guess what? By the time that you get to that space that you may want it again, you realize that you realize that there's something better, and you don't want that again. Nobody wants to go backwards. Everybody wants to go forward. Although I am back in New York, and it wasn't really my decision or my choice, but I am back and I'm accepting it. But in this process, like, what I realized is that nothing can be done again if you didn't want to. Like, nothing is taking away from your time and your process. It's all part of just evolving, however that may be.
Yeah, if you want to evolve, though.
Right.
And I feel like part of the reason why people don't like being alone is that they're afraid they're gonna miss out on something. They're gonna miss out on
FOMO.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, like, that is something that I thought it was a joke when people would say that, but it's a real thing. It forces people that are afraid of being alone forces themselves to end up at jobs that they don't want, in relationships that they don't want to be in marriages.
Because it's like, oh, well, if I don't take this, then the possibility of having nothing
is far
worse than what I have. So, but instead of thinking, actually, it could get better. Like, and that's what, as I started taking risks in my life, I started realizing, like, oh shit, it always gets better. Which I don't even know if it's like a good thing at this point, because now I'm so indisposable about everything. Yeah. Now I'm like, okay, well, you know, the universe and God hooked me up, so guess what? If this was good, what's coming next is going to be even better. So I'm almost okay with letting things go a lot quicker, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's a catch-22.
Everything needs a balance. Yeah, everything has a balance.
Because if you think about it, some of the stuff that you're supposed to be receiving, but you can't receive it because you haven't let go of something else. So once you let go of that, then you can now receive what's coming. Like, it's so much stress that you don't have to like deal with anymore when you're just willing to go with literally the flow of life.
Letting go.
Like when you just go with the flow of life, but in order to get there, you have to then understand yourself, because you can't get to any of these things that. And I said it to my aunt. Let me see if I can remember like verbatim. It's like when we pray, we ask God for things all the time. Or we ask the universe for things all the time. Lord, get me out of this job. I don't want to be in this job. And then you start seeing things that point you in the direction of something that you just asked for. But then you automatically start talking yourself out of those things.
You start freaking out.
So you just ask for it.
And then it's kind of going that way. You're like, wait.
Right. And then I'm pretty sure God is looking at us like, yo.
Like, what are you guys doing, idiots?
I thought this is what you wanted. Look, it's right there. You can go get it, but you're going to have to let go of this. You're going to have to put your ego aside. It's all these things that pretty much are holding you back. But that's what you asked for.
Yeah. Control. I think it's also control. I think we're taught to have control, to always be in aspiring to something else, that that letting go process is hard. It's not easy to say, oh, I'm going to just allow the universe to take lead here, or I'm going to really trust how this is flowing, because we almost feel like we always have to intervene. We always have to do something. Yep. And we almost like compromise our own blessings that way.
Yeah, I think that's why detaching from social media, or even sometimes I was a group of guys that I was hanging out with from Brooklyn, and when I was living in Maryland, I would come up here, we would go, whatever party, and then once the conversation started to turn towards like, yo, what are we really doing? It's 6 of us here. We're all, seemingly smart. We should be able to put our heads together and come up with something that we can all own.
I say that all the time to my group of friends. I get so angry.
And once the conversation started going in that direction,
what do you guys do?
6 went to 5, 5 went to 4. Like bit by bit, they just started to drop off. And I was looking like, y'all can't even have a conversation, which means that if anything would be greenlit, y'all really not about it. So I can't hang around with y'all.
I did the same exact thing just a couple of months ago. And I mean, literally, it was 5 of us, 2 couples and me. And I could just see everyone's role in it. Like, it could literally be magical. I'm like, we have everything we need. Each of us played the whole part of this whole pie. Like, and I'm willing to go all in. I'm willing to put the brunt of the work. I'm willing to shift all of my other responsibilities to focus on this. All I need is a yes from you guys. At the time, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's work. Something in my gut was like, Melissa, get this on paper. So I drafted this email to all 4 of them. And I said, this is the documentation of all the details that we talked about. This is all my brainstorms. This is all I'm willing to do. I'm willing to relocate for this. I'm willing to go all in. Before I do that, I want to make sure that I get a firm yes from everyone here. Because if I'm shifting everything for this,
you want the same
I need to make sure that you guys are also coming in and committing.
Rightfully so.
Can you believe not one person one person replied and said, Melissa, let's talk about it separately. Nobody else replied. Not one. I'm just like, damn, like, is it that, like, is it the jumping in part? Is it the trust part, right? Is it self-doubt? Is it fear, right? Maybe it's a little bit of all of those things.
It's all of it. The vulnerability of
like, taking risk.
Because it's crazy. No one wants to be vulnerable enough to expose or just be honest and be like, you know what? This might not work out. But I'm going to try it anyway. No one wants to do that. It's rare you find someone that's willing to be like, you know what, I'm going to move across the country, or I'm going to move to this state to figure out what my next calling is. Or even my calling might be down there. Right. I wrote some of my best stories in Maryland. Like some that I probably wouldn't have got up here.
Right. So it's like, you needed to be there at that time, whether it was forever or not.
Because I allowed myself to be in that moment. I spent 3 years, I call it a crucible. Because after the first year, it was like, all right, cool. I got this routine down pat. I'm learning this city. I'm, Baltimore, I know like the back of my hand. And then now I'm in D.C. and learning that, different parts of Maryland are really different parts of Maryland. I'm in Southeast D.C. I'm in, all these different places. Georgetown, which is a really dope place to chill, and I'm by myself. Headphones on, playlist going, and I'm roaming these streets, getting to know this area by myself, to the point where I now look like a resident there because people are coming to me asking me for directions because they're tourists. Yeah. And then after, and the thing that changed for me was hanging around certain people and constantly being asked, what do you do? What school did you go to? I'm like,
hello, hi, my name is...
Right. Is that going to change the course of the night?
Yes.
And then I've realized
it does.
In certain parts of D.C., if you didn't go to
a certain school...
Though. Really?
I haven't noticed it everywhere.
I haven't noticed it much here because, like you, I grew up here and I guess wasn't really time to figure out. If you went to school, cool. If you didn't...
When I meet somebody, they usually, one of the first questions is, what do you do?
Doesn't that, make you just look at them like, yo...
And I'm trying to find more clever ways to respond because I don't really like talking about it, period. And so I'm like, what do you mean? My day job?
I just stopped responding.
Or, I'll just try to say, something quirky or funny, to try to get around it. Because I'm like, why does that even matter?
I just stopped. Because as soon as that question comes out, it's almost like you're not even allowing me to be a person in this space with you. You just want to know. What can you get from me? You already done judged me based off of how I look. And now you want to see if it matches up my job title. So then I can decide how to treat you. Right. Right? Because you're going to treat me differently depending on what my response is. Exactly. Oh, I went to Georgetown. Oh, did you now? Oh, now we can have a conversation? It's so disgusting. Why we just can't be two people in a room? Or I feel like some people are not good with small talk. Also, I think people are just not good with communicating. So, it's they need an opening. It's if I find something that I could relate to, then, or something tangible to relate to, then maybe this will spark up the conversation, then I'll be able to communicate. So it's whatever was taught about communication, but really, the communication part doesn't have to do with the weather or what's on the news or what people do. It's energy. We're talking before we're even talking anyway. Exactly. So how about we go off of that? What is your vibe telling you? What is your energy telling you? Sometimes just looking at somebody is enough. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't have to say anything. Maybe actually it's probably best you shut up. Yeah. I actually liked you better when you weren't talking. And I figured that out. I had to allow those moments to happen. I had to get to a point where it was I don't want to go out. I just want to be in my apartment and just chill. Right, it's isolation. I know, it could get really bad. No, I know. It sounds scary to the listeners. They probably think isolate yourself. That sounds crazy. That sounds a bit morbid. But I'm telling you, 4 walls and a TV or no TV, and just especially if you're a thinker. That's definitely my nature. I know I come off as an extrovert, but my happiest moments is when I get to my house. And I can take off my shoes and my clothes, put on my robe in darkness and just lay there. I love being alone. Not just I don't like to be around people. I just like my solitude. I like what happens with me when I'm by myself. I think it comes from, and I was thinking about this at work, I think it comes from being confident enough in yourself to understand that in a room full of people or in a room with just yourself, you're still the same person. You know what I mean? People are forcing themselves in situations, like I mentioned earlier, out of fear that they're going to be judged. So let me put my best face on. I've been in almost too many relationships where I leave with my best foot forward, and the women I meet, as beautiful and kind as they are, and as they were, after a while, they're okay. You can see the shift, but at times you and when you're in the moment, you I don't know what the shift is. What do you mean? What do you think it comes from? Where does it come from? So I think they get to a point where it's okay, if I allow him to see too much of me, he might run for the hills. So, but instead of telling me, that's a topic. But instead of telling me that, it's, you know what, let me question everything about him. So I know he's honest.
Like, let me keep the conversation about him and less about me.
Or even so. Like, for example, I believe that women know who they're getting involved with from jump.
Like,
I have a theory about it.
Quick segue. Tell me. Yeah, let's segue. Whatever.
I have a theory where
whatever my outline.
I feel like, so we just go and set the scene. You're at a club or lounge or a gathering of sorts. Like you said, the energy. Women are far more intelligent than men.
Or intuitive.
So you can tell by the way someone either walked in the room, walked across the room, ordered a drink, the way he's sitting and just socializing. You can tell if you want to talk to him or not.
That's fine.
You don't even have to wait for him. You already know. It's just a matter of when.
But they say that about men to women as well. Like, the whole ideology, like, oh, the men knew from the moment he saw her. Like, is that real?
It's for some of us, yeah, but not so much.
It's mostly women, where men are more into the physical attraction and women are more intuitive to how the energy and the vibe of that man that walked in the room.
Like a man to pick it up, and I can't speak for all men, obviously, but it happened to oh, she's gorgeous. You know what? I might go say something to her. Once they start talking, then he's like, okay.
Now I'm interested.
Now I'm really interested, because not only is she pretty, we actually holding the conversation.
Got it.
Women already done made that connection.
Right, bro, you just got here.
I've been here 20 minutes waiting in my head for you to already. So when I say that, it's like the women that I've encountered in my life, that I've dated, had kids with, one that I was engaged to, they already knew the type of person I was. They just didn't want to accept it. And they didn't want to accept it because part of me forces that honesty to come out. And that vulnerability to come out.
Not everybody's ready to be vulnerable.
So once the facade is gone, it's like, you know what, I'm going to start an argument so he can leave me alone. Because I don't want to tell him that I had a rough day at work. I don't want to tell him that I'm actually insecure, that every time we go out, women are always trying to talk to you. I don't want to tell him that I feel fat in these jeans. I want to tell him this stuff because it's the real me.
But do you think that is not just a woman thing, but people thing? Like, I don't think we like to be vulnerable with each other, which...
And that's what I was leading to, people in general, because now, I'm starting to see it more and more in men, because for a while, I didn't really hang out with, a lot of guys. It was just me and my female best friends and that. But now that I have certain connections with some of my male friends, I'm starting to see it with them, too. I'll be out, and I'll see, I hear a story, I'm like, wait, I didn't even know that story. Where's that story coming from? It's a lie. Just to impress whoever's sitting in front of us at the time. And it's like, yo, be yourself. Because what's going to happen is that shoe's going to drop.
It's going to come back around regardless. It's going to show at one way or another. Like, you can only hide it but so long.
Right.
And I think the manipulation or sometimes the intent about this, I would hope, is that people do want to present their best selves. Like, I don't think every time is about not wanting to be authentic. I think that we are not being honest with ourselves.
Exactly.
I think that we're telling ourselves a story about what may be real to us. What we think may be real to us.
And then we relate that story to other people.
And then we're missing ourselves. We're missing ourselves in the story. We're missing what we really connect with because we're so busy trying to do what's right, quote unquote, or what is acceptable, or what would be more cool, or what would be more relating to this particular person.
So we spend all this time trying to connect to and adjust to the world because we don't want to be at war with the world. So we'd rather be at war with ourselves. And in order to actually figure out who you are, you have to spend time alone. You have to figure out. I done seen plenty of movies by myself. I done ate popcorn and chilled by myself at the movie theater.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You know what I mean?
I've been in a movie theater by myself.
Kick my
with nobody else.
Have
you been in a movie theater by yourself? It's amazing.
There's a movie theater in Brooklyn in Park Slope. Oh. And I would go there, because at one point I wasn't working and I was just, had a bunch of free time. And I was like, I'm not just going to sit in the house. And I would just Go to Park Slope, go to the movie.
Yeah, I would go to like the morning ones.
And just
I saw,
see
all
like
eyes on
6
me.
movies.
I saw it like at 10
a.m.
and I was there by myself. I was like, this is amazing. I'm gonna do this all the time.
And then you start figuring out bit by bit, what do I like as a person? Who am I as a person?
But I think we need to be, I guess, transparent and honest with people about what that does. Because like you said, you spend a lot of time alone and it does become isolating. Like I do remember times where I developed like social anxieties because I spent so much time by myself. Or I enjoy spending so much time by myself that it did become like very intuitive, very depressive in some ways. Like I became a lot in my head and over analytical about things.
I can attest to that.
And no extreme is ever healthy.
Right.
Right? And so it does become a little isolating because, like you said, when you start to change the perspective that you don't change yourself to relate to the world, that you can just live in your own kind of little world, you kind of create that.
Yeah.
And then, at least for me, I created that because I kind of always felt a little isolated from the world. I've always been in my own head. I kind of always marched to the beat of my own drum. And I just always felt very isolated. I remember even having conversations in high school with friends, and they would be talking about something that I wasn't relating to because my mind space wasn't there. And I just remember feeling just alone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even, like, I'm with my friends and I like my friends, but I don't like this. I don't like how this feels. And it just becomes very isolating. And especially for an adolescent who's like growing up, trying to get to know themselves, you almost start to like question yourself, right? Like I know for myself, I would almost like pick myself apart. Like, I'm like, maybe it's just me. Like, why am I not talking about these things? Or why is it that they all agreed and I didn't?
Yeah.
And I didn't pretend that I agreed, but it's like as soon as I disagreed, it was like, how could you? Like,
yeah, and then
the judgment that comes with that, and then it does become a little bit of a life battle because you're always trying to defend the person that you are, your perspective, your opinion, your thoughts.
I'm glad you brought that
against
up.
the people around you. So how do we deal with that?
I think we have to, like, with understanding ourselves, like, that's the first step. And then after that, you start looking at everyone else. Because the con, but it's also a pro and indirect way to being alone and figuring out who you are, you start to pinpoint the shit in life that you don't like. And the people and the conversations. But you also have to be really prepared. And I say this with extreme caution. This is a disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Be prepared for people that you've known all your life to look at you like you're an alien.
And turn their backs on you.
And turn their backs on you like, I don't know what the fuck they talking about. Yo, y'all want to go to this spot? And be left alone. Literally. Just because you're going to be seen as someone that is not on the wave because you're not a sheep.
Yeah. Especially if you've been one way and then changed. Because people don't like change. They want you to be the same person always. They want to be what they expect you to be. Yeah.
That they like, oh, well, you used to be fun. Yeah, I still am, but I'm fun in this way.
Right.
And you can respect that person from afar, but the weird thing is
it changes
everything.
That's facts. That's
like it really does change everything. You lose friends. I remember in high school having like a good 15, 20 people. It was just a big clique. Did everything together. And then I just got tired of just the same thing over and over. And when I said something, just like you, I said something in a conversation one day, and it was like, what are you talking about? And I just felt the distance immediately. And I think I talked to like one or two people nowadays from that clique.
Yeah, thankfully I've always been this different and weird. So the transition had kind of was always happening in my life. I had always fluctuating friends. Like I've had friends that I've had for a long time, and a lot of them still don't understand me. They still think I'm an alien, but they accept me for who I am. And then I had the fluctuating friends that I would have, and then things would drift, and then it would have, and then some I specifically decided to remove. Others specifically decided to remove me. I think it's always been fluctuating when you decide to live this lifestyle, and to me, it wasn't so much of a decision. I can't, my energy, my spirit
Right.
won't even allow me
to be in certain places.
be in certain environments, or to accept something else, or to say yes when I really mean no.
Yep.
Like, I've been honoring myself for way too long, and I mean, I'm definitely not going to stop now, so what's the point?
Like, keep it going.
Right. So since we went off topic, supposed to be about codependency, but we went off topic, which is okay, because we're going to find a way to redirect this, or we'll just have another episode to talk about codependency.
I actually have a story about codependency.
Well, we're running a little bit out of time, cool. But I do want to kind of close this out with what I usually close out the episode. How do we heal our lineage, and how do we help people identify being themselves and their authentic self in this world that's trying to create you to be something different?
Well, being a parent.
Right, you can speak directly to this. Yeah.
Like
9?
Yeah, she turned 9 last Tuesday.
Oh my gosh.
And she had a birthday party on this past Saturday.
What a blessing.
Thank you. And watching her grow up, I try to tell her as much as possible. I remember how I grew up. Mm-hmm. My grandmother who raised me is an awesome woman, her and my aunt. And the main thing that they got me to understand about myself was like, yo, if you don't like something, you don't have to do it. Mm. The only thing we actually do is go to school, get good grades. If you don't like being on that basketball team, guess what? You can quit. You want to try something else?
It wasn't forced. You have that option.
So I try to implement that when I'm talking to my daughter. Mm-hmm. When it comes down to, like, you know how we all have that one cousin that's always annoying us? Mm-hmm. That's always doing something to bother us. But we're afraid to say something because we don't want to get them in trouble.
Or we don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right. So it would be times where I would sit there and watch her get annoyed. And, like, she would internalize it. And I would take her out the room. I was like, Monty, come here. I'm like, you all right? First thing I asked her, you all right? And then she would tell me. But then she would hesitate. I'm like, no, go ahead. She would start crying a little bit. I wipe her tears. I'm like, no, you can tell me if you want to. You don't want to talk now?
You got a choice, yeah.
Cool. You know where I'm at. I'll be downstairs. Give her a kiss on the forehead. Let her go back. About an hour or two later, she'll see me, and she'll be like, okay, Daddy, I was bothered by such and such and so on and so on. I was like, I'm glad you said that. So now we can address this. And I've been talking to her like that since she was like 3.
So that's basically, you're teaching her that it's okay to be vulnerable. You're teaching her that it's okay to be honest and open with you. And you're literally giving her the avenue to really relate to you, which I think is really hard for parents. Like, I know growing up, one of the things that I wish my mother could have been more is vulnerable with me. Like, she was so strong all the time, like, that I couldn't relate to her a lot. And so I think that it's important as parents, so we can heal our lineage, heal ourselves, and move forward, is to, you know, open the door for vulnerability.
Yeah, and the most important thing, and we got to go, the most important thing I do is I put myself in that position of being someone that she can tell, you know what, Daddy, I don't like that you raised your voice, or I never raised my voice, but even if I did, she'd be like, you know what, I didn't like that. Because what I do is I say, don't be afraid to tell, like, or speak about if your feelings are hurt, if you're bothered, even if it's me. So once I put that, she was like, you know what? I can tell my pops I don't like him right now. I want to be left alone. So I can tell anybody. And that's where it starts.
That's confidence. That's dope. Well, you guys start speaking up, being vulnerable with everyone in your life, because it's important. So thank you for listening. I know we went a little off, but it's okay because it was still necessary. So I appreciate you for listening, for the support, and make sure you stick for the after credits. It's the best part. See you later. And now, the best part. Here are the after credits. A message from my co-host.
Hey, it's Rodney again. I want to say that on your journey of life, like I mentioned earlier, just be prepared to lose friends, lose jobs, lose hope sometimes. But whatever you do, don't lose yourself, like, at all.